Hey, hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome, and sorry that I'm late to the party. As you guys know, I won't be showing the actual event. I'm just going to be reacting to it. So I'll give it a moment for people to kind of just jump in and say what's up. um, yeah, definitely don't want to get into any trouble. So what's up, everybody? What's going on? Um, Let me grab some stuff real quick, though. And real quick, if you guys want to help out the channel, right there below the QR code. What up, Sneed? What's going on, man? I'm playing it safe, so I'm not showing anything of the event. I'm just watching it. Hopefully you're watching it too, man. I'm hoping that they make some decent changes though. Yeah, I gotta get my drink. I need something to drink and everything like that. What up, B-Tech? What's going on? Okay. So like a 3D, like a kind of a 3D wallpaper. They're literally just like, which is the best cell phone carrier for 2025? It depends on where you're located. There's not one carrier that like absolutely performs the same way in every square inch of the country. So yeah, that's not a question that can be answered. Brandon, what's going on, man? Glad to have you here. I'm watching WWDC. I can't show you guys because the last time I did that and I got in trouble. Chilling, working late today, so watching the Apple stuff. Nice. Yeah, so if you guys are watching the Apple stuff, then you'll see what I'm seeing if you guys need visuals, but I can't show you guys because Apple's not nice like that. They won't play well with me. Move the QR code out the way also as well. So are they changing? They got a new clear look now for the icons on iOS. That's kind of cool. It's like a glass looking icon. That's I think that clear icon widget look, I think that's a good thing because if you're somebody that likes your wallpaper to kind of shine through, or maybe like you have like a family photo as your wallpaper, you wouldn't want your icons to really obstruct it, especially with iOS, since you can customize the position of your icon apps, but you guys get what I'm saying. It allows your wallpaper to shine through. And you'll still know where your apps are. So we getting the clear iPhone? I don't know about a clear iPhone, but I know that the icons are clear. They almost mimic the look of glass. So you can still see the border of the icon. You can still see the design of like the logo of the icon. And if there's any wording, you can still read it. It's just not so obstructive to your wallpaper, so that's nice. Lock screen update is what they're talking about now. So this year, let's just put it this way right now. So far, what I'm gathering this year, it's about glass, liquid glass, look, glass feel. An iPhone, the color of water, pretty much. All clear. That's what they call it. But you have this animation now, like when you're swiping on the lock screen, it's like you're sliding a sheet of glass over, the image on the background. The clock now shifts with the different type of wallpaper you have on your lock screen. So like if you have more real estate on the top, your clock widget will be longer. And if you put a picture that, has like your family, friends or whatever, and it's a much shorter real estate on the top, then the clock will shrink on its own. So you don't have to manually adjust the size of your clock. And of course, Apple's thing with the lock screen, like, if you have like a dog, that the top of the head will kind of overlaps over the clock to kind of make this 3D realistic look. So now lock screens will have a 3D effect. If you set your lock screen's two-dimensional image, you'll now get a nice 3D kind of look. Something that we've seen on ads on Instagram and TikTok. They always have like the iPhone with the display with the 3D animation or whatever. Now it's a real thing with iPhones. Now they really have it. Adapting liquid glass look. This new redesign is a vibe. Yeah, I think it looks pretty nice. Oh, here we go. Now we're talking camera. Yes, that's always hard for everybody. Oh, so they are going to call it iOS 26. We just literally skipped a bunch. Well, photo and video is all you really could do with the camera. I mean, you can't really order a cheeseburger or anything like that. Nice. Now that's cool. I like that. Swiping up to, instead of having to find the settings button and tap it, you just swipe up. Then you get all your settings, right? Your adjustments, aperture rating, all that. That's cool. Okay, so now there's new tabs in Apple Photos. But I still use Google Photos though, so I mean, that's cool that you have that, but spatial visuals. Yeah, a lot of people were talking about it. Literally, they were talking about it that, they were just gonna like change the numbering to match the year or whatever. I mean, so yeah, there we go. iOS officially will be iOS 26. Oh, I don't know. Have no idea. I mean, a lot of us tech nerds are going to know why they did that, but other people will probably be like a little confused, but it's not that big of a deal. Okay, that's going to be pretty cool. I have to test that out with my sister because she has an iPhone, but like the FaceTime landing page. Emily's going to tell us more about Apple CarPlay. would think so. Yeah. It almost reminds me of a video game, the way that the mapping looks on Apple CarPlay. Kind of like you're the car in the game Frogger. I think that's pretty cool. So like, you know, don't go all Fantastic Four. Flame on! He dissed, Apple Maps. Like, no. I'm just saying, it looks like that you're now the car, not the frog in Frogger. So that is some pretty nice some nice visuals, right? Being able to reply to, your iMessages, and even the interaction buttons like the ha 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 and the thumbs up and the heart, like I like things like that when it comes to tech. Yeah, so now with CarPlay, you can see your friend's flight status. So you know for sure when they're gonna land and stuff like that. Because you never know when your friend decides to take an air flight to where you live and maybe asks you to pick them up from the airport. CarPlay Ultra. We want your money. What's the cost of this? Is this going to be the new move? Is Google going to do the same thing with the Android car? They're going to make an ultimate version package where you have to pay for it. That would be like literally crazy. Right? It comes with the car. You never know. That could be the future, right? When you go and you buy a car from a dealership, you know what I mean? Maybe you go in for a trade-in or something, you finance a new vehicle, whatever. Maybe that comes in the contract, you get an iPhone with CarPlay Ultra and a car. All right, here we go. Now we're talking about the phone app. Spam protection. I like that new look of the phone app. It got announced a month ago, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Oh, wow. Cool. Summarizes your voicemails now. That's nice. Get straight to the point. I think it looks nice. More than it being easier to navigate the app, I think it looks more nice than anything. That's a nice look. It doesn't look so plain. Aston Martin is the first ones to deploy it. You got to go to the dealership for the update. Oh, okay. I appreciate you, Josh, for letting me know. I'm not too in tuned with Apple CarPlay. I don't use it, so I don't really know. Ah! They got call screening. Apple finally has call screening. I don't give a shit they're late to the game or whatever. I don't want to hear that crap. What I'm happy about is that on my iPhone now, well, I don't know if it's coming to iPhone 12, but if it does, that's awesome because that's why I like my Pixel. That's one of the big reasons I like my Pixel. I don't like getting bugged by calls that, I don't know and don't care about, but I do love that, it could be screened. Now they got Hold Assistant too. Woo! There is no longer a huge gap in the phone call experience between Pixel and iPhone. I can see it now on the X platform. Lots of diehard Pixel fans are gonna bring this up. They are late to the game, but you know what? At least people with iPhones can now know what that experience is. Do you know how many people that have actually like chatted with me about it, and in their mindset, because iPhones don't have it, they don't see it as big of a deal, so they don't really know how it works. Now they're gonna know how it works. Now they're gonna have to eat their freaking words, and I'm sure they're gonna love it because they're not gonna be interrupted by anything. B-Tech Shorts, B-Tech Reviews. What's up? I love that background. That's something that I liked about freaking Samsung, and they took it away because now they use Google Messages over Samsung Messages, which allows you to have a customized background. So good on Apple. Now I'm just gonna like spam my sister on iMessage because I'll be able to like enjoy the background. I'm not kidding. I'm gonna do that. Oh, I can spam my other sister in Vegas. She has an iPhone. Cool. Nice, 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 nice. Typing indicators in group chat now. They didn't have that before? Oh. Screening tools coming to messages. Intercepting spam in your messages. Yes. iPhone and Pixel have become literally side by side with the smart features. That is great. I love that. Yeah, yeah. Unknown senders will be silenced until you view them and decide to assign them as a contact. That is cool. Backgrounds, polls, application groups, group typing indicators, and screening. Oh, we got other ways to communicate. Okay. Oh, we're focused on emojis right now. But then who knows? Maybe Samsung brings back Samsung messages, honestly. Especially with robocalls. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, I agree with you there, Josh. I'm just happy that, you know, iPhone users are going to be able to have it. Yeah, Michael. I mean, I agree with you there. Like, this is something that I thought that they would have. But, you know, with the recent news coming out with Samsung and Google having a, you know, divorce, Samsung kind of like going into their own AI and everything, maybe they'll bring back Samsung messages with some AI features and some of the other features I like about Samsung. Because there are things that I like about Samsung. There's things I definitely like about Pixels, and now, you know, there's things I like about iPhone, and now there's even more things I like about iPhone. It's pretty cool. Okay. Oh, okay. That's cool. That's the only thing I don't like about Apple, and hopefully they're changing this in the future with all these different AI companies that they've been acquiring. But the reliance on Chat GPT, I mean, that's, I don't know. I know people love Chat GPT, they like it and everything like that. Hey, that's cool and everything, you know what I mean? But it's not Apple owned, so Apple would still be at the mercy of Chat GPT, and I don't know. I think like Apple should have their own AI, the same as Google has Gemini, the same as Samsung is moving into the direction of having their own AI. I think that's the move. Okay. So they got live translations in messages, which is something that at Google I/O they were talking about, including in video chat. So they got live translations now in FaceTime. A little bit different than how Google's doing it. Google actually translates the voice in a voice. I guess Apple's version is they don't want to obstruct the person's natural voice and language. So you'll hear it in their language, but you'll see a caption. It also happens in voice calling. Okay, so the way that Google does it is in their audio calling on Apple. But in video calling, they don't obstruct the natural voice. So it's a matter of preference. But I think with the non-obstruction of a translated voice speaking over the person's natural voice and language, it'll be less disturbing. And maybe with Google, that's a setting that can be turned on or off. And maybe you'll get just, caption translations rather than vocal translations. But this is a good move for Apple. So good on them. They weren't lying that people are going to like iOS 26. What up with Apple Music? Because I use Apple Music. All right, here we go. In. What's happening? Yes, please. Okay, so now in Apple Music, when you're listening to a song in a different language, you can get translations in the lyrics section. If you guys are not familiar with Apple Music, when you're listening to a song on Apple Music app and you swipe up, there's a lyrics area. So you can pretty much turn your phone into karaoke. So if you do that and you have translation turned on, if it's in a different language other than your native spoken language, it will translate the lyrics into your native spoken language. That's pretty cool. In case there's a song you like and you're hearing it, you're jamming, you're vibing to it. Well, maybe it's talking about, tacos, and you don't want to look stupid. At least you'll know what the lyrics are saying. I already see that in Apple Music right now. Well, not pinning it, but just seeing the albums at the very top in my playlist area. What about all the bugs in Apple Maps from prior? Have those been fixed? Gemini is my favorite. Hopefully the rumored integration with iOS actually happens. Maybe, but honestly, Apple's been acquiring a bunch of small companies that are in development of AI, so they definitely could be working on their own. There's like that famous saying for Apple, right? They may be late to the game, but apparently they perfect it. That really depends on the eye of the beholder. Okay, well, I mean, give me a reason to switch from Google Maps to Apple Maps. Okay, well, we have that already. But that's cool, though. Now you got visited places on your iPhone. So in Apple Maps, if you want to share a place that you went to, your friend may be interested in, you can go to visited places in your Apple Maps and share that with your friend. Apple Wallet. I don't use it. That's pretty cool. Kia. I see Kia's on there. Hyundai, GMC, Acura, or Honda. Yeah, Arizona has them already. Driver's license IDs on them, the digital IDs. Yeah, so you still need your physical passport, but you don't have to worry about losing it because you have a digital copy that is accepted by TSA agents and everything. That is cool. I like my bags to be tracked because you just can't trust people these days. Okay. Well, that's nice. With Apple Intelligence, has Apple Intelligence come out yet? Like I'm totally lost on Apple Intelligence because the last I even remember, there were tons of people pissed off because the iPhone 16 still doesn't have it to that degree as it's been advertised and it's been showcased. So anyone in here who's like a diehard Apple fan, tell me, did Apple Intelligence actually come out yet? Apple Gaming. Yeah, you ain't kidding. My kids love playing games. Not on iPhone, but they just love playing games. Vampire Survivors Plus, is that supposed to be like Castlevania? Oh, yes, it launched. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. I wouldn't know because I don't have a newer iPhone. I still use an iPhone 12, right? Which doesn't have Apple Intelligence and wasn't going to get it. So they redesigned the entire Games app. Did they have a Games app or was it just in the App Store? Hello Kitty Island? They really have a game for Hello Kitty? Oh, yeah, that's funny. So they kind of adopted what Stadia was doing before, Google unalived Stadia. Okay. Now there's no more talking shit about, who does good on what game. Now you got challenges where it keeps record of your score versus their score and ranks you guys. So it's no longer word of mouth. You can't BS people anymore. Yeah, they're really pushing on it. It's a redesign of Game Center, which is very deep in the settings of iOS currently. Okay, gotcha. Well, that's cool though. I mean, if you're a gamer, that you're for sure gonna enjoy this and like all its new features. The game challenges thing, of course, gamers are very competitive, so visual intelligence. Okay. So pretty much what Gemini Live has, where you're in Gemini Live and in camera mode, and you can point at something and just ask Gemini what this is or whatever question you may have. So now they have that on iPhones. Cool. Okay. So a little different, but still. So it's like circle the search. Yeah, it's circle the search. That's cool. That is absolutely cool. So then now iPhone users can experience that. That's great. That means that if I only take my iPhone with me, well, never mind. It's Apple Intelligence thing, so it may not come to my phone. Okay. Yeah. That's just the only thing I don't like. I don't like its reliance on Chat GPT. But it's a nice placeholder until Apple brings out something, right? Once Apple brings out their own, then yeah. But since they got like this open thing with AI, maybe it would be nice if rather than just defaulting to Chat GPT, you can set like Gemini as the default for now. That would be pretty cool. Allowing the user to choose which AI services they would rather use. Yeah. I mean, nice new designs, yes, for sure. I want to try that clear icon thing. That's for me. Oh, here we go. We're now going into Watch OS. Oh man. Watch OS 26. See, it caught me off guard there for a second. Like iOS 26, like I mean, I've been hearing rumors that it was going to be called that, and it's officially called that. I totally forgot Watch OS was going to have the same number as well. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, Apple Intelligence will be in the Apple Watch. Cool. Okay. Workout Buddy. Hopefully, it's revolutionizing or something. If it's something similar as to what I get with my other smartwatches, it's like okay. Not trying to be an asshole here, but it almost feels like that with iOS 26 and watchOS 26. I guess the overall arching theme is that they finally got it, type of thing. Jeez, what is going on? Heard fire sirens and stuff like that. FYI, I'll be going live again a little bit later, but it's on a different subject. It's not tech. It's not tech related. But it's a recent event that happened recently, and shout out to Carlos for letting us know what was going on with that situation. And I did my own research on it, and it's a pretty sad situation. But if you guys want to catch that later, just make sure you guys have notifications turned on so you guys know when I go live. That's pretty nice, though. I like that. 150. Wow, that's pretty cool. You got a motivational speaker. Some people need that. Wow. Nice. That's pretty cool. That is cool. Cool. That is pretty cool. Okay. Nice. Okay. Working out to Linkin Park. That's what's going to happen if I let it choose a playlist for me based upon my likes of working out. It would end up being Linkin Park, Avenged Sevenfold, um, what else? Like several. Disturbed, Slipknot, like the rock, metal type music. I like to work out too. But all the rage and anger. Urgh. Cool, cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It won't be intrusive, won't be super loud. That's cool. Ah, that's pretty cool. Flick it and it goes away. Now you don't really have to touch your screen too much. Okay. Live translation on the watch. That's nice. Conversation backgrounds. Yes, yes, yes. Google, take note. Bring something like this. This is what people kind of wanted. Like when you think about Hangouts, Google Chat. Like first, eradicate Google Chat. Get rid of it and like incorporate it into Google Messages. Um, Create these customizations again, like backgrounds. No, I don't think they're going to announce new devices. Well, they might. I don't know. But I do know like WWDC is pretty much like Google I/O, right? Google I/O is more software focused, and I believe WWDC is more software focused. If they do have a device, it's probably a surprise at the end. I don't know, maybe like the iPhone 17 Air. It could be announcing that, but I doubt it though. I think the primary focus is just on everything that iOS 26 and WatchOS 26 can do, all the new customizations, the user interface changes, the added features, intelligent features. I think that's just really where they're focused at. But now they're talking about TV OS. Why did Apple disable their chat for their live stream? Don't they want like people's reactions to all these changes? I don't know. Maybe they don't want to be bombarded with like trolls, which would make sense though. But if you had moderators in your chat, they could get them out of there for doing troll comments and stuff. So it kind of looks like my Google TV. This is why I tell people today, when it comes to like the Android versus iOS wars, there's really nothing to have a war about. They're like almost identical in so many ways. I mean, they have their own little spin on things and their, you know, their own little sprinkle of Apple-esque or Android-esque to kind of give it its own flair. But the overall user interface, it's identical. There's not a difference anymore. It's not like back in the day, you know, of like the early days of iOS and the early days of Android, like, you know, Gingerbread or Froyo. It's nothing like that. This event is a deepfake, completely AI. Hey, it's Jason, and this is my MOA. Chief of War. So what? They made a series on Apple TV that pretty much like documents the war between the Hawaiian Islands before they were united as one under Kamehameha. Just if you guys ever like read up the entire history of how the Hawaiian Islands became one, especially the battle on Maui. The battle on Maui was the most brutal war. So yeah. Okay. Family's okay. If you guys didn't know, I mean, so I don't want to make this a drag, so I'll just straight out tell you guys. My oldest brother passed away recently, so the family is working all that stuff out, but you know, we'll be okay. I've had my cries. I've had my moment where I've, you know, isolated myself for a little bit. Yeah, Hawaii is beautiful. I just want to recommend anyone to live there unless you're like hella wealthy. It's super expensive. And it depends where you go. Like if you want that nature type experience of Hawaii, then I would say go to like Kauai. Go to Kauai. It's more, it's less industrialized than Oahu. Oahu's very industrialized, obviously. I mean, you know, the city of Honolulu, you know, the most well-known destination vacation spot, Waikiki. You know, you go to Maui. Maui's like the second most industrial developed. But if you want like just to get lost, you know, lost in the island vibes, I'd say go Kauai. Molokai is such a small island. There's not really much to it there. You can't go to Niihau because that's where the last bit of like full-blooded Hawaiians live, and outsiders can't go to that to visit at all. Like you would need clearance and approval from the Robinson family to go to that island. And then you got the big island, which is Hawaii. I appreciate it, guys. You know, it sucked. You know, he was gonna be 45 this November. So this is why, one, health is very important. So you should definitely take care of your health. And two, don't take life for granted, because we're never promised tomorrow. So live your life every day as it counts. So if you're a couch potato, then get the hell off that island and get outside and do things that you enjoy. But aside from that, I appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. Mac OS. Here we go. Here we go. What are they calling it? Right. Mac OS Tahoe. My dad always used to joke around with me about Lake Tahoe. He would always tell me and my sister when I was very young, I was about like 7 years old. He was like, he had a sugar mama and she wanted him to move over to Lake Tahoe to spend the summer with him. And my God, man, my dad, he loves to joke around. I took him serious though. I thought he was going to leave me and my sister. Mac OS has a new design. And glass. The dock widgets. Liquid glass. There it is. A keyword. That looks good though on a MacBook. And if you guys are seeing this with me, I think that looks good. Less distractions, and it, allows more of your background to pop. I know it's not such a big deal because backgrounds really don't do anything other than just give you like a visual look. But sometimes, you want your background to stand out. I still can't get over how MacBooks have the notch. I mean, it looks cool, but at the same time, it's like intrusive. You're not getting your full screen real estate with that thing in the way. Nice. They can add images in the folder and change the color of the folder. Oh, look at that. They chose a pink wallpaper, and with the liquid glass widgets and icons, it like made it all blend better than their tint. I think if you want your icons to look the color of your wallpaper, the glass one is the way to go because the tint just seems a little unnatural, but that glass one will definitely let it come and shine through. It don't feel bad. I don't own any Macs at all. My laptop is a Pixelbook Go, which works for me, so I have no reason to go out and buy another laptop. Like I'm gonna use this laptop until it's done, till it's finished. And even then, the You Break I Fix stores, they can replace the batteries in the Pixelbook Go. So if my battery all of a sudden becomes very shit, I can just get a battery swap. What I would love though for the Google side is to allow you to upgrade the RAM. That would be super dope. So phone app on the MacBook gets all the smart features that's in the iPhone, that screen calling, spam protection, all that good stuff. It should, because it would be ridiculous if they didn't add that in. Shortcuts. Something I've never used before, so I'm about to learn something new now. I've always seen it on my iPhone, but I've never used it. So here we go. Oh, okay, so it's one of those things. Intelligent actions. Here we go. That's pretty cool. Nice. So they use ChatGPT for like cloud AI and then PCC for on device. All right. Nice. Houston, we have a problem. I am almost out of green tea. And no, this is not product placement. This guy would be pretty cool at speaking at my high school graduation. I could only imagine what he would say as the speech before graduating high school. Live pet translation. I think my sister will enjoy this because she's got a MacBook and a Mac computer, and she's in college right now. So she's got to like write out papers and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure she's gonna enjoy this. I'll tell her to go check out this segment. I'll clip this segment and send it to her. Hmm. That's pretty cool. Shortcut keys and stuff like that. Okay. Nice. What's so crazy is that Apple comes out with the best updates and other companies be trying to follow along. I guess, but majority of the updates to their services is actually following Google, right? So really these days it's not really about iOS versus Android because they um they start at different points and end up meeting across the bridge. Like I said, right now I can tell you guys one of my favorite things is all the new smart features in the phone app for like the call screening and stuff like that. The spam protection that they now have on iMessage and phone app, and then the translations in FaceTime, like the language translations and caption, so you can communicate in a much better way with someone who speaks a different language from you. That's pretty cool. Well, yeah, of course. Um, to me, when it comes to software development, because that's where my focus is when it comes to things, um, having more people in an ecosystem or anything like that, to me, it's like, yeah, it shows the popularity of Apple. Apple's a long-standing known name. You know what I mean? Like from the very very early days with the Apple II and the Macintosh computers, if you guys remember those, because that's what we had in school growing up. So Apple has a long-standing brand that everybody knows. Right, here we go. Here's something pretty cool. How much is Vision Pro now, anyways? Okay, here we go. Vision OS 26. So this is something cool because this is the future. The way that we communicate, the way that Google and Apple are pushing towards this newfound version of communications, this is going to be pretty solid. I don't think it would be like Star Wars with hologram calls, but it looks like we're moving in that direction though. Like if you guys are familiar with Google Beam, of course I won't be buying that thing. That monitor for Google Beam, uh-uh. That is pretty pricey for that. I don't think a lot of people would be buying that. Maybe those that like have money to burn would buy something like that just to say they have it, but I don't think like the rest of society would be rushing out to get Google Beam. Are these visuals all like visuals that you see with those goggles on? Because then you would have to have those goggles on all the time. Oh no, okay, cool. Never mind. See? No, that's pretty damn cool. That'd be fun to play around with just to be able to play around with tech, you know? Spatial scenes. Okay. The spatial scenes coming to Vision OS. In the corporate setting? Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, man. These that could be definitely used as a great tool. Yeah, these days you don't really have to try hard with photography or anything, right? We have so much software to just replicate that uh live to life look. Oh yeah, for sure. That looks pretty cool. Now just imagine in the future if Apple shrinks down those goggles to actual glasses. It's not impossible. So they're doing the same thing as Google Beam. But this actually looks a lot better in my opinion. I mean, to have it in that setting. There you go. That is cool as shit right there. Right? Hmm. Security. That is cool. That is really cool. Hmm. Literally a way for us to escape reality, immerse you in a world that you probably don't ever want to come back from. Yeah, I can't really justify a Mac just because I need a touchscreen. So the laptops are a non-starter. Not a huge PC gamer, but enough that a Mac isn't optimal. Yeah, which it's a cool thing, right, Christopher? It's a cool thing to have this, right? This is fucking amazing. But at the same time, too, something that can lock you in your room where you never want to step out could actually be more detrimental, right? So like with all these new techs, I'm a firm believer with while we can admire the new tech, while we can geek out and everything like that, but we also have to be careful of how dangerous they can be. You lock yourself in the room and everything like that, you don't really go out and live much of a life, man. The Apple Vision Pro is slowly getting worth the money. Yeah. I would invest in the Apple Vision Pro if like my kids wanted to use it for like, you know, class project assignments and stuff like that, I think it would be totally cool for them to not only just write like a book report, say like on the country of Thailand and a book that they read about it, but to be able to actually like be there and see and experience the way things are in that country with a first person view. That would be so cool and so helpful to their school work and everything. I see, I see. Yeah, Pixel 3 was pretty cool. That was my first Pixel. I will always have like, you know, special memories for the Pixel 3. That was the very first Google Pixel I unboxed, right? Years before getting the Pixel 3, I was always like wanting to get one, right? Like in the days of Nexus, I always wanted to get a Nexus. And, you know, when you have a family and you have kids, there are priorities over buying yourself a smartphone. So when I eventually had the money and the you know, the actual freedom to do it, I ordered a Pixel 3 when it launched. And yeah, very first Pixel I unboxed it. And right after that, I ended up getting the Pixel 3a. And I unboxed that and was using that. And from there, it's just been on and on, year after year. Whatever Pixel I can get my hands on, I would buy. You know, it's just like right now. Like I dropped a video last month and I meant what I said. If I have the financial freedom and availability to buy it, then I would be upgrading from my iPhone 12 to the iPhone 16e. Yeah, I still have my Nexus 5X. It's in the drawer over there. It's not on a stock ROM. I pushed it beyond it. I think the last custom ROM I flashed onto the Nexus 5X was Android 10. And that's where it's currently on. I just take it out every now and then and charge it up and use it for like an hour and then charge it back up before powering it down. Of course, the battery is not the greatest. But I always thought the Nexus 5X looked pretty cool though. And the little camera bump it has on the back, right? It's not superly protruding, but it's got this nice curve and then up around the ring of the camera lens. And then it's just like it's got that smooth transition up. It's not like a sharp, you know, or a very bulky. Um, I don't know. I don't know the best way to describe it. I just think that the camera on it was pretty decent. And then the Nexus 6P, of course. Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that. Um, of course, you know, because I flashed a custom ROM on the Nexus 5X when people were talking about the boot loop of death. I had went ahead and installed a custom kernel that disabled the two larger cores in the CPU, and so only the four small cores run, and so therefore mine didn't end up in that boot loop situation because that's really what it was. And I think there was a workaround for the Nexus 5X, which some people said worked. If you heated up the back of the phone with a hair blow dryer, if you heated it up, it would shock the hexacore chip to allow the phone to boot on. But then, of course, the boot loop would repeat. It would happen. So best thing is just to install a custom kernel and just disable the two larger cores. I totally like washed over iPad OS. And I know some people use iPad, like my sister uses an iPad. I opened Google Maps and then it crashed into a boot loop. Oh, damn. So that sucks. We got other updates? No, files. Cool. That's pretty cool. They are supercharging the Files app. That'd be pretty cool. I use Google Drive, but that's just because a lot of the AI games I'm building are like, they're all on there. Which I'm due for another live stream for fun with AI, where I just literally open up Gemini 2.5 and just build little quirky games. The first one I ever did, and you know, I hope it doesn't trigger people, but I built a game where the Google Pixel phone was your spaceship, and you were taking attacks from enemy Apple iPhone ships, and you were shooting them down, like kind of like in like a 1942 game setting, right? Or like a Space Invaders type thing. Yeah, so I was building that, and not long ago I had it build me a replica of the game Snake from Nokia, but I made the pieces that the snake would eat in shapes of diamonds, and in the background had the Matrix live wallpaper. So it was Snake in the Matrix. And then yeah, you just same concept. You go around, you maneuver without touching your own snake's body or touching any of the bordered walls, and you eat as many pieces as you can to grow your snake to as long as it can get. And then I made a flashcard game for my kids with different languages for them to pick up on words. So they were learning Spanish, they were learning Thai, and yeah, it was kind of cool to watch them. They really got like heavy into it, and it was just a basic card game. I had no images. I didn't have Gemini put any images on the cards. It was all, you know, just text. But they played that. They wouldn't give me back my laptop for 2 hours. They were like busy playing that game, and they've memorized some of the words and what they mean. And so now I hear them incorporate in their day-to-day lives. So like AI is definitely changing for the future, and there's ways that you can make AI work for you. And so right now, all I'm really doing is learning all the things that you can do with AI for development, because I do want to start my own business, and I do want to use AI to help me build this business out. So that way I can, you know, earn an additional living on it, you know? Local capture. Nice. That's pretty cool. You can record your video calls, so you know you can interview somebody on FaceTime and use that recording for content on YouTube. And if you have legal things that you want a record of, as long as you disclose that you're going to be recording, you can record a video call conversation for future reference. I forgot to charge my iPhone last night too, so. So this is going to be coming as beta in the coming months, right? I don't feel like that this is going to be like a full-fledged release. At least I don't think of. The last iOS update I was on was iOS 18.5. I didn't I didn't check to see if there was any like registration for the next iOS and beta. But I'll probably go look at that. I'll look for that now. No, I'm live streaming. What's up?
Mom told me to tell you, can you take out the meat in the pot off and put it over for work?
Oh yeah, I will. My daughter reminded me, like last night we had red chili with arroz and yeah, we had red chili burritos. It was pretty good. But I still have leftover meat in the slow cooker, so I gotta take that out, shred it, and put it away. In August or September? Yeah, I figured it would be a few months, but it's really cool to see what's coming. Hopefully one day they won't be reliant on ChatGPT. Hopefully one day, right? Fingers crossed. Here we go. We are on the dawn of the battle of AI. Now we just got to see what Samsung is going to do, because I'm pretty sure they're going to split with Google and kind of go off on their own for AI. ChatGPT is the one you trust the least. Yeah. I know a lot of people that feel the same way when it comes to that. So I'm hoping that Apple kind of like changes that up later. Like I honestly do. I don't care what anyone says. I honestly feel like ChatGPT is just a placeholder until Apple like launches their actual AI. New design liquid glass. That is going to be pretty cool. And hopefully it trickles down to older Apple devices. It's not limited to just the newer ones. You know what I mean? Cause I know like what this year is like pretty much going to be the last year that iPhone 11s are supported. So it's like sometime this year or next year, I do need to upgrade my iPhone from the 12 to, like I said, the 16E. That's what I'm going to go for. So I'm going to jump straight up to the 16E. And I'm going to be using that as my device to always be familiar with iOS. So that way, you know. Pretty much Apple with AI and its AI tools have caught up to Google in a way. Yes, for sure. And that's what I'm liking. This is why I don't care who came up with what, who released what first. I want to see these guys develop and polish these things off, because when one polishes it off and it's like it's working flawless, the other company has to put pressure on themselves to push theirs further. And then we win as consumers because we're getting the best. Okay. Nice. Cool. All right. And cue the rollout. So now they're going to show real App Store reviews. Oh, they got a live concert going on right now. So or are they doing that trend that everyone's been doing on TikTok where they I don't know anymore because AI could be so real. You guys ever see those things like on TikTok and Instagram where they take the comments of a post and it's used as lyrics to create this this drastic drama sounding song? That's funny, but I am not going to continue on this. Oh man. So, before I close out this live stream reaction, let me just say this. So takeaways from this that I am excited for and happy that's coming to iPhones, and hopefully it makes it down to my old iPhone, but obviously the new user interface designs and everything like that. I know it's not like superly important. It doesn't really do anything drastically as far as changing performance of a phone or anything like that. But, as a visual aid for somebody who's immersed in what they're doing on their phone, which is pretty much like 99.999995% of people in the world, that does count for something, right? You can't be overly critical about user interfaces to opposing companies that you don't resonate with, but then not be have that same level of criticism for the ones that you do support, right? It's got to be all across the board. So since people do kind of trash a company for its UI and how it looks or how it feels, you got to give that same level of criticisms to the ones you like. And so even though my forte is not Apple, most of you guys should know, right? I'm Google Pixel fan here. But I do love the fact that their user interface is changing, in a good way for the better, obviously for customizations. I love the fact that iMessage is going to have even more, just a level of customizations, right? Being able to set a background, which is something that is what I liked about Samsung Messages before they converted over to Google Messages. And it's something that Google Messages doesn't have, which I think they should implement in the future. And like I said before, I honestly feel like that, Google should just stop it with all these different chat services and implement them into Google Message in such a clean way that people can understand who and what and how they're communicating with somebody, right? Whether it's, carrier SMS or whether it's actually, considered Google Chat. Just completely go that route with it. You know what I mean? This is kind of one of the reasons why, other chat services like WhatsApp and, WhatsApp is used globally, right? Like when you look at, when I interact with people on live streams and stuff like that, I'm always told that, the world prefers to use WhatsApp. And, Google can definitely take the lead on that. Apple can definitely take the lead on that by doing these little quirky things they're doing, right? It just makes, the experience more intuitive, more fun, more playful. I think that matters. And so for Apple to do this with iMessage, that's a big thumbs up on them. And hopefully that kind of influences and pushes Google to do the same with Google Messages, as well as incorporate certain things, right? We know that September of this year, the legacy Google Duo calling feature in Google Meets is going completely bye-bye. That's going away, gone, finito, out of here. Okay, and so all these new features that's coming in the form of the ways that we communicate, like video calling, which is something that I stood firmly behind, that today we have the bandwidth and the capacity to have video calling. So we should be utilizing it more, so people don't get confused. Like, I mean, yeah, you can hear someone if they're depressed with audio calling. You can really see that level of intense depression or not, so intense, with seeing body language, eyes, face features and everything like that. So that's why I've always been supportive of like Google video calling. Plus two, it does help out. It makes you feel like you're there with the person. You can see their face, they can see you, type of thing. So the fact that both, Apple and Google is really focusing on video calling and making that experience more immersive to near lifelike To me, that's just awesome. I love that direction that they're going with that. I think that's a pretty good thing to do for a lot of us out here, because number one of all things, our smartphones, what we do is we communicate with them, whether it be audio video calling, whether it be, typed out messaging, or whether it would be social media posts. So that is like the above, biggest thing that we do on our smartphones is communication. So the fact that they're focusing on that, to me, is a very good thing. I like that. uh the smart the smart features within calling and within messaging, and that level of security, and that is a very, very good thing. I could care less who had it first. I don't give a shit about that game. I am more focused on, like, if you get a Google Pixel, you can have all those experience to lock it down. You get an Apple iPhone, you can have the same level of protection against spam calls, against spam messages. You have where they have the hold on, which is a hold for me on Google Pixels, which allows, your what is it, your digital assistant to pretty much take over the wait time on the call, so you can go about what you're normally doing. And then when somebody comes on the call, it alerts them like, hey, the active caller is using an assistant to hold their place. Let me notify them you are on the call. Please hold. And then at the same time that message is being read or being spoken to the call agent on the call, your phone is alerting you. You got a live agent on the call. Get back on so you can conduct your business and do what you need to do. I love that Apple has that now. Yes, Pixels have had it for a while, and it works amazing. I love using it. And now, whether I have my Google Pixel with me or whether I'm using my iPhone, I have that same level of features that I can take advantage of within iMessage and with the phone app that I have on my Google Pixels. So I love that. Love that they're doing that. The whole Apple gaming, that is something like my kids will probably enjoy that. The level of how the game library is kind of cleaned up and also tailored to the types of games you like to play. So it allows them to discover new games that they may not have. I mean, I'm only going back to like when I was a young kid on my Super Nintendo and on my regular Nintendo and on my Sega Genesis. We didn't have things like that would suggest to you games that, might suit your type of gaming experience you like. We just had to go and, like, we use Blockbuster. If you guys remember what Blockbuster is, that's how I tried out games before I actually wanted to buy them. I would go to Blockbuster every Friday night with my mom or with my dad, depending who I was living with, because my parents were divorced. So we would go to Blockbuster. My parents would pick out a movie they wanted to watch for movie night, and I would head straight to the video game section, and I would. I was only allowed to rent 2 video games, so I would rent one from my Super Nintendo and one from my Sega Genesis, and it was games that I heard about, I read in video game magazines like Nintendo Power and other, gaming magazines, and then I would take these games home and I would try them out. And if I tried them out and I wasn't into it, I didn't like it, we held the video games you could rent for up to 3 days, and I think new release movies was 3 days, but like movies that have already since been released, you can rent them up to 5 days. So like every 3 days we would go back to Blockbuster and I would return the games that I wasn't too into. If it was a game that I was very much into and I desperately needed to beat, then I would ask my mom or my dad to re-rent the game for another 3 days and I would continue playing. Other than that, if it was a game that I wanted to have in my collection of video games so I could play whenever I felt like it, that's when, like, when birthdays was coming or the holidays was coming, like Christmas, I would ask for that game for Christmas or whatever. So that's how I used to do it back in the day. And nowadays you have game apps that can suggest these things to you. That's very nice. So I enjoy that. I like that. But other than that, that was the WWDC 2025 live reaction by me. And like I said, I'm sorry I couldn't show you guys any visuals or any audios from it. I would have got definitely dinged. Like Apple does not let you play well with their events, but you can go check it out for yourself. Just head over to the YouTube channel and just look up WWDC 2025, catch the replay so you guys can see. If you didn't see, catch the visuals of everything they were showcasing, from iOS 26 to watchOS 26 to iPad OS 26 to Mac OS Tahoe, the whole 9 yards, Vision Pro OS. Check it all out. If you guys enjoyed hanging out with me, please smash the like button. It does really truly help out the channel. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you guys are watching this on Facebook, you guys got 30 days to view this before it is completely wiped, because Facebook does not save live streams anymore. But until then, talk to you guys later. Y'all be cool and be safe.